Hello and welcome to the Movie Mouth podcast. This is your co-host Miles, and on this week's show we'll have an incredible interview with stunt performer Pablo Verdejo, whose resume of daring do stunts include Game of Thrones, Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Dark Knight Rises, among many others. We'll also have a review of Hulu's new time loop comedy Palm Springs, starring Andy Samberg, and we'll be pitting two money-themed movies against themselves in Video Store Corner, where we will ask you whether Money Plane or Money Train will run away with the cash. Well, you'll find out all about that later in the show. When we first started researching setting up the Movie Mouth podcast, everybody told us that 90% of podcasts fail before the 7th episode. Well, folks, today is that 7th episode. I don't know what to say, really. 3 minutes till the biggest battle of our professional lives all comes down to today. Now, either we heal as a team or we're going to crumble, inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team or we'll die as individuals. That's podcast, guys. That's all it is. Now, what are you going to do? As we suit up and stare into the oblivion of episode 7, I look to my left to see a man with more scars than Quint, more cars than Steve McQueen, and more bras than Shirley MacLaine. It's Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
How are you this week?
I'm good, thanks. Very good. How are you?
Wonderful. Truly,
Brilliant.
truly wonderful.
I'm glad.
What have you been watching this week, me old mucker?
I'm afraid it's not that new this week for the stuff I've been watching. I've carried on with Dark Season 3 on Netflix.
Okay.
I don't know. I think we're like 4 episodes into that now.
How dark is it? Did you have
5.
to turn the brightness up on your TV?
That's very funny. And I finally finished Snowpiercer. So on Netflix as well. So the first series of that, and
you loved it from the start. So what did you find without any spoilers? What did you find about the ending?
I really enjoyed it. I think it had a good end, a good setup for season 2.
Okay,
I'm sure there will be a season 2 because it's all leading to that. So I enjoyed it. It's nothing like absolutely amazing, but it kept me fully entertained throughout the whole 10 episodes of season 1. So yeah.
Very cool. I promise you, I'm gonna watch that from next week when I can stream it. Very cool. I didn't actually watch anything this week apart from the movies that we reviewed and to discuss today. I was actually catching up on my reading, and if you're one of the Instagram followers on the at Movie Mouth podcast Instagram handle, you would have seen that I picked up the Jim Carrey book, the new novel. Or autobiography, or whatever it may be called, which is called Memoirs and Misinformation. It's by Jim Carrey. It's his first ever book, and also his co-writer Dana Vachon, who I guess kind of kept him on the rails in this first foray into the novel world. And it's kind of intended as a memoir, but I mean it's pretty much all, from what I can gather, fiction, apart from some of his comments. But this is situated deeply into the Hollywood universe, so it's very relevant for our listeners, I think. In it, this book sees Jim Carrey as in the third person, struggling with the status of his career to date, the sense of meaning beyond his name. Reviewing certain projects. He, for example, is courted by Charlie Kaufman, of course, who wrote Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Eternal Sunshine. And in this, he is courted by Charlie Kaufman to play the role of Chairman Mao in the Chinese government. It's anyway, it starts out really interesting, and it goes into really strange, unusual places. But most importantly, he brings in a lot of Hollywood actors into his friendship group who may or may not be his friends. And in this case, he actually states Nicolas Cage is his best friend in the novel, and he kind of teams up with him. They face an apocalyptic threat together, the likes of which the world has never seen. And I want to read an excerpt on this week's show, just to kind of give you the level of detail. Again, this isn't a spoiler for the book. This may or may not be actually happening in Jim Carrey's mind in the book here. So just to give you some context, Jim Carrey and his Hollywood friends are holed up in a Malibu shopping mall, about to be confronted by alien snakes driving metallic exoskeletons down over the Hollywood Hills and down to potentially vaporize them. So,
okay.
Sean Penn, lighting a fresh Camel off of an old Camel cigarette, turns to the group and says, I want Nicolas Cage, Sally Mae, and Jim Carrey on this anti-aircraft gun above the Chipotle. Watch the hills, start firing when you see them, lure them in, then abandon and fall back. But you fire until the very last. Draw them down onto Cross Creek Road, right into our claymores. Make those alien cunts confetti, said Gwyneth Paltrow, clapping her hands. The battle paint was clearly changing her. Dance to the music of their agony. It'll definitely slow them down, said Carla. That's when Gwyneth Paltrow, Sean Penn, and I all launch white phosphorus grenades from Urban Outfitters, distract them, turn their flank. Then Willow, John Travolta, and the Scientologists, you guys light them up with plasma blasters from Taverna Tony and Greek restaurant. Ugh, Taverna Tony's my favorite, gasped John Travolta. The fried halloumi, so worth the calories. Yeah, said Carla. Well, tonight they're serving grilled alien. They'll be caught in a crossfire as Jim Carrey, Nicolas Cage, and Sally Mae close in from Chipotle. More plasma blasting. Clearly cutting off all escape. A classic Taliban trap. This is how I lost my arm and leg. She hiked up her pants to show them all the titanium leg. It revived their spirits. Some proof that the powerless could prevail over the powerful. So inspiring, the actors, that they now competed to own the moment with a line for the ages. Let's make some alien widows, said Sean Penn. Let's turn them into mincemeat and masticate them, said John Travolta. Let's pour salt on these slugs, said Nicolas Cage. Let's kill for killing's sake and rejoice in how it changes us, said Gwyneth Paltrow. I want to play slip and slide in their fucking guts. I don't know if this is real, said Jim Carrey, but I can't afford to doubt it. End scene. So this is a fucking book that if you like that, you have to check it out. It's available on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. You can even get it on Audible right now. And it's actually read by Jim Carrey's Dumb and Dumber cohort, Jeff Daniels, on Audible as the audiobook version. So I highly recommend it. It blew my friggin' mind, and I read it in about 2 sittings. So yeah,
I want to live in his brain.
After reading that, I definitely don't, but I do want to be his best friend and just love him and look after him. So this week's listener question comes in from Colin in Cheshire Park, which is in London, I believe. Hi, Miles and Phil. Big fan of the podcast and love pointing out some of the small and also major errors you make during each show. Thanks, Colin. My question is, if you could be any character in one of the following genres, who would you be and why? A sci-fi movie, a historical movie, and a contemporary-ish action adventure. Phil, you can start us off. Who would you be in a sci-fi movie?
Sci-fi, I'm going to go for, and this is a comedy sci-fi, but I'm going to go for Dr. Peter Venkman.
Venkman!
I mean, you know, he's
But Phil, you didn't say the magic word.
He's an arsehole, isn't he, basically? Don't you think? He's flippant, but that's what I like about him. And I think he's a scientist, and he's clearly a clever man. Which I'm clearly not. But he's he
Is he
invents a
that
lot of
clever
clever
though?
stuff.
I don't think he is, dude. Because he's
He is. He's got a degree in parapsychology and
no,
psychology.
but they're it's debatable whether he actually does. That's the whole thing.
Well, yeah, but also
he's just a sales guy, man. He's the marketing.
oh, but he helps to invent some of the stuff I think that they use. But he also
does he?
He's also the only sociable, the only one with any social sort of wits about him.
I don't know. I reckon Winston when he goes out to a bar.
Oh, Winston later on
he
has,
absolutely
but
slays.
when he's out with Ray and Egon, it's just like
Yeah.
Egon's on about his mold spore collection,
spores, molds, and fungus,
and Ray's just he's odd.
But you're not an arsehole, though, Phil. You're not an arsehole. Can I be honest with you? Can I be honest with you?
You're going to call me Ray, aren't you? I knew it. I knew you'd say it.
I put Peter Venkman for this answer because I'm an arsehole and I'm
all right
underqualified for everything that I've ever done. And you are without a doubt Ray Stantz.
I should have thought this through.
Oh, I love it though. I thought you were going to set this up perfectly. We didn't discuss
Peter Venkman's so much cooler than Ray.
Exactly, Phil.
I hate
right,
you.
moving on. Moving on. Give me a historical movie that you'd be part
historical.
Of. Yeah.
For me, it's not that historical, but I'm going to go indie.
Ooh.
I mean, it's
that's historical.
Yeah, it's 1936, isn't it? The first one, something like that. It is because I looked it up. And I mean, there's not many cooler than indie out there. The stuff the countries he's traveled to, the adventures he's had.
The things
and Sean Connery is his dad.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I can see that. I mean, your sideways look, your uncomfortable look when the guy jumps out with the sword and he's just throwing it around in the marketplace, and then you just pull out a pistol and blow him away
to shoot him.
I could definitely see you doing that.
I would 100% do that.
I'd love that. I went for Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Arise, Robin of Locksley. Awesome hair, an American accent, even though he's from Sheffield in England.
Yeah.
But I get to hang out with my best mate Morgan Freeman every day. Wouldn't that be friggin' amazing?
It would be nice. You could
just swinging through the
trees.
Tell
you stories to make you go to sleep.
Fatty! Sign me up. Action adventure. Come on.
Action. I'm going to go for John Matrix from Commando. Because, I mean, there's lots of other ones that you might think, James Bond or Ethan Hunt, Mission Impossible. But John Matrix, he's awesome. He's built like a brick shit house.
Mm-hmm.
He knows his way around all of the military weaponry from the looks of it. He smokes cigars. He can fly a plane. He can
smoke cigars. You say smoking cigars like it's a skill, like something you have to.
But he smokes cigars and makes it look good. Like he does that while unloading bandoliers of grenades.
Like a stogie.
Smoke a stogie.
Come on, smoke the stogie.
Plus, he has some of the best one-liners while he's killing people going.
I mean, 100%.
It doesn't get much cooler than John Matrix from Commando.
Would you throw someone off of a cliff and say, I lied?
When he promised to kill him last.
Yeah.
I lied. Wait, I'd kill someone on the plane, and when the flight attendant comes to check on him, I'd say, "Excuse my friend, he's dead tired."
Oh, Bill Duke, and then you climb out of the undercarriage of the plane.
Yeah.
Also, your daughter is Alyssa Milano.
Yep.
Which is, a shame for you, but good for me because it means that I now know Alyssa Milano, and I'm 100% going to propose to your daughter to get married.
You wouldn't know because I'm Arnie. Like, and if I didn't want that to happen,
That's
you wouldn't
true.
argue.
No, you're not Arnie. You're not Arnie. You're John Matrix.
I'm John. I'm John
You're
Matrix.
a fucking killing machine.
I'm a commando, literally.
Imagine that if I was doing a podcast with John Matrix. A movie podcast. So, John, tell us, what did you watch this week? I watched people suffering and dying, and I blew them away.
And it's we've got an interview next, so stick around.
Stop stabbing the interviewees, Phil. John. I went with so I went for more of the adventure than the action side. I went for the one, the only, the chaotician, Dr. Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park.
Oh, that's good.
I know. I have a deplorable personality. I get to drip water droplets down Laura Dern's wrist. And I get to smirk at one big pile of shit. I also get to rock an awesome leather jacket, even in Hawaii, in the middle of what appears to be summertime.
Yeah. You're wearing all black, like literally.
Exactly. And also, I believe in chaos. Like, chaos is what drives me forward. So I'm there. I'm there for Ian Malcolm. I don't even care that I have to get over the wounds, because ultimately, even though he's like an unlucky hero, like he should never have lit that flare and, distracted the T-Rex, and then subsequently been flung through the toilet area. He still turns out as like a hero of this movie. Do you know what I mean? You still think of him as a freaking hero.
Yeah.
And then, we see him obviously in the Lost World, going back to the scene of the crime. So yeah, 100%. I'm Dr. Ian Malcolm in this case. And I love that question, Colin. So thank you very much for that. And if we made any errors there, be sure to reach out to our lawyers, and you can find them at lawyers@moviemouthpodcast.com. So, Phil, what have we got in the news this week? What have you been seeing?
In the news. So the first thing I saw, which was mildly interesting, is the because I've been going on the last few weeks about the way people are trying to go to get the cinema experience during the lockdown. And there's been a lot of talk about drive-in cinemas and, open air stuff. And then I saw an article about floating cinemas this week. So I think it's been announced that in a few cities across the US, this is nothing to do with the UK, but across the US, they're going to offer floating cinemas. So you'll get in a little boat. Well, not all of you, your little bubble. So the people you're happy with, get in a small boat. And
the people you're happy with.
You know what I mean? The people you feel safe with that haven't got the virus.
I'd struggle with that. Am I happy with that person?
It'd just be you in a boat, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be me in a boat in my Dr. Venkman outfit.
Shouting at the screen. So yeah, you just get in a boat. Apparently they're going to have 12 to 24 mini boats, equally distanced apart, at least 6 feet. It sounds pretty interesting. There's a funny artistic rendering of it, just all these people floating in boats, watching a big pop-up screen. I think that could be pretty cool.
It's a floating theatre.
Yeah. And apparently the popcorn is free. So that's quite good.
Ooh. Is that because you have to scoop it out with a net?
They float it over on another little boat to you.
It sounds
no, I don't
like
know.
a lot of fun. I've seen they have like kind of pool party theaters over here in New York. You get a lot of like rubber. You can sit in a rubber ring, that kind of thing, and like float and watch a movie. Which they do like Jaws and stuff like that, which would be really freaky.
Yeah,
that's really cool. What a great idea. And we need to go to one of these on the podcast soon and actually review one.
Yeah, well, I think the one that I've been talking about that's close to me, apparently the world's largest indoor drive-in cinema. It's opening soon.
The world's largest indoor drive-in cinema in Haywards Heath, in England, in the United Kingdom, in Europe.
In a farm shed, no doubt.
Someone's farm shed. You killed my pine! You killed my pine! Old man Peabody's farm.
I mean, they're showing Back to the Future and the Goonies, so why wouldn't I want to go?
Done. What else have you seen this week?
I've also seen, now this is very exciting. So this is about a new film that Netflix has picked up, or I guess bought the rights for, as they seem to be doing a lot these days, but I'm not complaining. They make some decent stuff. So this is called The Grey Man.
Oh, the sequel to The Invisible Man.
I don't think so.
He's not quite invisible, but there's something grey over there, and it's coming towards me. It's in the corner of my room, and it appears to be a man. It's a little bit grey. It might be touching itself.
I think he's been sick or something.
He's been sick.
So yeah, because he's grey.
Is this a comedy?
It's not a comedy. No, it's described as an action thriller, and it's about a deadly duel between two killers. So it's not a comedy. But it's going to star, and this sounds really good. It's going to star Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans.
Wow.
And it's going to be directed by the Russo brothers.
Joe
and Anthony Russo.
Can we refer to them as the Holy Russo brothers after Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War? Because
I'll tell you when I've seen both of those.
They have to, ridiculous.
But yeah, so this could be very good. And apparently it's the goal is to create like a new action franchise with it.
Okay. Well, so the Grey Man 1, the
Purple Man 2.
The Mauve
Man. That's better.
The Mauve. People would pronounce it Mauve. Hey, the Mauve Man. You see that movie, The Mauve Man with Gosling?
You mean the Mothman Prophecies? No. I mean the Mauve Man.
When Ryan Gosling looks in the sink and he sees a tiny Chris Evans in the bottom of the sink dressed like a moth. That's all I remember from that movie is that who's in that? Richard Gere looks in the sink and he sees a tiny moth man in the bottom of the sink looking up at him.
I don't remember that.
That happened in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cool. I picked up on Tenet, so more Tenet news. Obviously, it's still scheduled to be coming out 12th of August this year. I don't think that's going to happen. I really hope it is, but here in the US, the movie theaters still aren't open, so I honestly can't see that happening. It's now July 17th, so but it's just been announced that Tenet is officially 2 hours and exactly 30 minutes long. Which is just wild. It's just classic Chris Nolan. Like he would get this 2 hours exactly 30 minutes long as a movie, which is a nice runtime. Not too long, not too short. It's as long as The Last Days of American Crime that we reviewed a few weeks back on Netflix. Never watch it.
Don't.
But imagine walking into a Chris Nolan film for 2.5 hours. So really, really looking forward to that. You picked up on some trailers this week as well, Phil.
Yeah, trailers I watched. First one was another Netflix release. So this comes out on the 14th of August, and this is called Project Power, and stars Jamie Foxx, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Dominique Fishback. And this looks really cool. It's basically it's about. I think it's set in the present, but it's about a pill that exists. And if you take that pill, you gain unpredictable superpowers for 5 minutes. Well, actually, when you say that out loud, it sounds a bit ridiculous, really. But in the trailer, it looks really cool. Like, so you don't know what's going to happen to you or how you're going to react to the pill. But
what? So you don't know what superpower you're going to get?
No, you don't know what you're going to get. So in the trailer, you see people that are like, on fire, like, they're like, they can control fire around them. Some of them can fly. Some of them can do.
I mean, to be honest,
like super strength.
Original. doesn't sound that original. This just sounds like me after my first Jaeger bomb of the night.
What, you think you got superpowers for 5 minutes?
Oh, 100%, 100% for at least 5 minutes, and then I need another one.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it looks really good. It's nothing groundbreakingly original, but I
Who's
like
in
the fact
this?
that they only last for like 5 minutes. Because like I think Gordon Levitt, by the look of the trailer, he plays like a cop in it,
Mhm.
and he like takes the pills to help him while he's needs to take down people. So yeah, it looks really good. It's like it's got some impressive computer effects and stuff in it as well. So
With these kind of high concept kind of like thriller, that kind of comic book movies that aren't really comic books, I
yeah,
always worry because I remember going to see Hancock, the Will Smith movie,
oh
um,
yeah,
which I absolutely friggin' hated with a passion. Like, does anyone like
mm.
that movie? Just such a bad movie, and I just worry
Well,
that this movie might be that. I mean, I did hear that Project Power was in the can about 2 years ago, so we've been waiting a couple of years for this movie to actually come out.
right,
So that's always a bit of a worry. It actually, in a nice segue, I saw the latest trailer for the New Mutants, which is the originally 20th Century Fox continuation to some extent of the X-Men saga.
yeah,
And this is it's kind of a shift in tone, which is really interesting. It's almost like a kind of haunted house or haunted asylum type movie, which features Anya Taylor Joy, who was in The Witch. She was absolutely incredible in The Witch. Maisie Williams, of course, Arya Stark in Game of Thrones. Charlie Heaton, who was in he's probably best known for being Stranger Things, Will's older
yep,
brother in Stranger Things. And this was actually, like I said, it was supposed to come out a little while ago. I think that Fox initially were concerned about releasing this. They pushed it back initially. It was supposed to come out in April 2018, so over 2 years ago from this time of recording. It was then delayed to February 2019, so again over a year ago from here. It was then pushed to August 2019, and then when Disney purchased Fox, it was pushed back and again to April 2020. So we would have seen this by now, in order to make room for the release of X-Men: Dark Phoenix. But then, of course, on March 12th, 2020, the whole COVID shutdown, the lockdown that we had. So it's now been pushed back. So its current release date is now August 28th, 2020. So could be interesting. From what I understand, it may be a misfire, but certainly with that cast, I'd love to see it. And it's been long gestating, so I think a lot of fans will want to, certainly get a look at this, get a look at this movie.
yeah, yeah. I've seen the trailer for it. It looked okay. But reserve judgment on it.
As the world's largest Bruce Willis fan, tell us about Hard Kill.
Well, I don't know. So yeah, this is a release coming out on 28th of August. Hard Kill, starring Bruce Willis and Jesse Metcalfe from
Hmm.
John Tucker Must Die, and
Hmm.
Sergio Rizzuto. Yeah, and he was in Escape Plan 3. I think is looking him up was about the most notable thing he's done. Um, and this is about a billionaire tech CEO played by Willis.
Of
And
course.
of course, and he hires a group of mercenaries to protect his work against a terrorist group that kidnaps his
I'd,
daughter
I'd love to know
to
what
try and
his
get them.
work is, like his building.
I no, he's I think he's like a. I don't know I don't know, to be honest. I only watched the trailer once, and
Can
I
I
was a
ask a
little bit
question? Is
disappointed.
this something that you're going to get me excited about, like you did with Money Plane,
No,
and then ultimately have to review it in the podcast so that I have to watch it?
no, no, because I don't really. I really like Bruce Willis, but this looks pretty bad. I'm not really that excited about it, to be honest.
Goodness
Yeah.
me. All right. Sounds like
Mm.
we'll be giving that one a miss. I can't even remember the last time Bruce Willis was in a really decent movie. I'm going to say, off the top of my head, Looper, maybe.
Looper was good, yeah.
It's been a long time since he's really been in anything, I think, that's really captured the zeitgeist. I know he was in Motherless Brooklyn, directed by Edward Norton. I thought Glass was a real misfire, M. Night Shyamalan, as the kind of the closing point of that David Dunn trilogy that started with Untouchable. Sorry, Unbreakable, and then
Unbreakable, yeah.
obviously, yeah, and then from that point onwards, I think I'm looking back through his career here. I mean, yeah, maybe Looper in 2012 was the last time that he was attached to something that really hit it off with critics and viewers alike. So
He's
a real
in the
shame.
Red films, wasn't he? Like Red 1 and 2?
Yeah, I mean, Red 2 wasn't
They did
great.
alright, didn't they?
Red 2 wasn't great.
I don't think
mean,
I saw
it
Red
was
2.
this was also no, it was directed by your friend Dean Parisot, who is directing Bill and Ted Face the Music and
Yeah.
directed Galaxy Quest. It was not a great movie, but Red was actually before Looper. So,
Oh, well,
yeah.
there we are then.
Come on, Bruce, sort it out. Getting something
Sort it
amazing.
out.
Yeah. Just not another Die Hard movie. We're done. All right. So, this week we're going to jump to a amazing interview. Our next guest is an extremely experienced film and TV professional who's been seen performing daring do stunts, playing roles, and doubling actors in such incredible productions as The Dark Knight Rises, Game of Thrones, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, various Star Wars and Marvel features, and most recently in Gareth Evans' Gangs of London. Pablo Verdejo, welcome to the Movie Mouth podcast.
Hello, guys. Hey, Phil. Hey, Miles. How's it going?
Hi, Pablo. All good, thank you.
All good, thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Always welcome. It's nice to hear you.
So, where in the world are you right now, and how did you keep busy during the global quarantine crisis?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm in Madrid. Luckily, I managed to leave the UK, so I'm in Spain, where I am from, and I'm working finally after I believe almost 4 months of being confined and quarantined back in the UK with my family. So it's nice to be here. It wasn't obviously that busy. I was busy with the kids, but not working. And it's kind of nice to be a different type of busy now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I bet.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you found your way into becoming a stunt performer.
Well, my background, I suppose I've always been very active, and I've always kind of pursued somehow a career in sports and sports performance and trying to be somehow an athlete at wherever, at sport or anything. And I realized probably I wasn't suited for a particular thing. I was more like a multi-skill guy. I was able to do different disciplines and I believe that's how it came to that. I came to obviously came to the UK. It's going to be now 20 years, and I discovered the industry through my wife, and she introduced me to it by being an extra and playing little parts, and it just the whole thing took from there.
That's amazing. Did you have any kind of martial arts training or anything that you now use today in being a stunt performer?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, I was because of my studies as well. I was in like a sports degree, sports science degree, and prior to that, I was into judo, kind of some sort of acrobatics, sort of gymnastic competitions, and I was good at running. So I could do a bit of climbing, and I was riding horses, and I was good in the water. So it's one of those things, I had a good background, not realizing that I was, probably already halfway through what should have been a training or formal training or in the UK. So yeah, I had quite a lot of things actually, I believe.
It sounds like the perfect cocktail, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does.
So, what does being a stunt performer for you actually entail? And how do you go about booking work and roles and getting onto new projects?
Well, to be a stunt performer means that you have a good understanding, an etiquette when it comes to having a behavior at work on set around the crew, around actors, and you understand safety, you understand the requirements of an action, understand equipment, you understand the needs of the actual shoot of camera
Mm.
angles. You have a broad knowledge, or at least you should gain that as you
Mm.
work in a quick way, in a quick manner. On top of that, obviously, you have to have the skills and the abilities to perform in front of camera. So acting is also a good sort of skill to have.
Yeah.
And obviously, sorry, Phil, you said what in titles and what was the other thing you said?
Yeah. So what? So how do you go about getting your work? How do you get booked onto projects, and how do you find
Um,
work on new projects?
yeah, sure. Well, in my case, I'm a member of the British Stunt Register. I was actually the first Spanish person to qualify.
Okay.
And yeah, in the UK, it's sort of is quite a given things. You have to complete 6 different skills, like a martial art, like some sort of gymnastics, trampolining, scuba diving, just different sports that make you at least a trusted person to perform stunt. Doesn't
Mm.
make you a stuntman, but obviously how you book the actual work jobs is obviously having that,
Yeah.
become a stuntman or registered stunt person, and being trusted once you get the call, and like I said, having all that etiquette I was telling you about, and the learning, and obviously being
Hmm.
aware, and obviously just being good at listening, and being good at having instructions given to you, and being good around actors and other members of the crew, and getting
Sure.
and getting on with people and your colleagues, and so yeah, that's the main important,
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
And do you use like an agent to get you work, or do you normally, get contacted through your previous work and
We No, we don't actually. We an actual page in the book on the register. It's literally that at the top of the book is
Okay.
the coordinators, and we are more like a page with all the credits, all our measurements, all the skills that we have, 2, 3
Yeah.
photos, our contact details. Obviously, you do build a reputation, and you
Mm.
kind of become the victim of your own success, because obviously if you're good, they're gonna keep calling you, and coordinators don't need to look into the book if it's
Yeah.
something not that specific. Obviously, yeah, there's some coordinators looking for a special skill or an actual measurement to be able to double someone, but normally, like I said, you kind of in their minds already, which is a good thing. That's your case. So no, and this is not the case. No, no, we don't use agents in the UK, and it's
Okay.
more like you working for the top guys, and if you're doing a good job, you probably will go back onto
You'll
the
get
next
asked back.
one,
Yeah.
and yeah, and that's how it works.
I'm guessing,
Awesome.
looking at your credits, that you certainly work for the top guys, and you're certainly on many of the major productions that we know about. I mean, looking at your IMDb, for example, there's an embarrassment of incredible names in there, which are just everyone is a global name or brand.
Uh,
But how did you get your start? What was that first job, that really kind of got you into becoming a stunt performer? What was that route like? You obviously had your background in sports sciences and martial arts and horse riding, but how did you get that initial role? How did you get that first start?
Well, I have to say, when I first got into the UK, my wife, because she's coming from the Caribbean background, she was already performing. She's a dancer. Her family were on the early Bonds, and they were playing little. characters and walk-ons and just performing on things like from EastEnders and all these British
Mm.
TV dramas. So they had the industry in the family. They probably still working as extras and performing, like I said, playing little characters. And she was the one that introduced me to the industry. And for me, the main film that made it and where I met stunt person, which from I come from Spain, and I never actually I have to say I wasn't like a cinema geek, or I wasn't
Mhm.
really that much into cinema. So Harry Potter 4, I started kind of body doubling, standing in for Victor Kram, the Bulgarian guy Stanislav, and
Mhm.
that just made it. Like I worked. They brought me. They brought me in to dabble, to do all the, like I said, standing, and that was a whole year. So obviously I managed to meet a lot of people, managed to know a lot about the industry, to learn, and of course meeting those guys out there in the corner holding swords and going down the stairs and with fire. And I was like, wow, who are those guys? Well, I want to be there. That's
Yeah.
cool. So they were the ones
Me too, by the way.
what's that?
I also want to be them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's the kind of the thing you want to hear on set. But when it's actually you go like, oh yeah, and that's awesome.
In line with that, how rigorously do you train to avoid accidents and ensure safety on set? Because obviously you're dealing with some, heavy machinery or actual physical accidents that can occur on set. That's the reason that you're there. How do you train to avoid that, and what kind of practices do you put in place to ensure that safety?
Yeah, well, the training obviously is a physical training. It's about awareness. There's a little bit of acting. There's about being fit. Obviously, you have to be consistent. Have look after yourself. You don't want to go to set and having to repeat the same scene for same shot for 17 times and not being able to perform like you do the first two, three. So, I think conditioning is important, and sharpening your skills and maintaining, keeping up what you have in a way. Obviously, this it varies. It's a bit like every job is different, so you might have a bit more time for rehearsals for certain jobs, or you might just you just might get a call for the day on other jobs, and yeah, it's about. Like I said, also you have to work together with your department because, like you said, heavy machinery that might the riggers might be using, and there's wire
Mm.
work, and there's all the department and effects and cameras and steady cams moving about, and so
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of that. So that's I said at the beginning, the etiquette on set, the awareness, the listening, health and safety guys, risk assessment. You want to read about the scene, you want to read what's going on, and definitely the first AD. He's gonna let you know, your coordinator, star coordinator. He's gonna let you know what's going on as well. So it's important. So in terms of that, I think that the training and the whole awareness and the experience is definitely a good thing to have.
Y- Yeah, absolutely. I think leading on to that, then, so when it comes to different stunt disciplines, it's interesting to know if you need to have. So if you're going to do stunt driving, because I've seen some of your credits are for stunt driving,
Hmm.
but do you need to have separate qualifications so to do stunt driving, and then something like wire work or high falls or things like that? Do you have to have a separate sort of qualification, as it were, in each thing, or?
Well, you kind of get renowned. You get, like I said, you sort of known for being able to do certain things. Obviously, there's very good stunt drivers. Like in a way, I'm trying to compare here the British system and the US system. In the
Mm,
US, they're more specialist, so they are amazing drivers. They are amazing like trickers and acrobats and all this whatever discipline you can think of.
Yeah.
In the like in the UK, the British Stunt Register, they set you up with like they want you to have a minimum of 6 disciplines, and that makes you very competent at a very broad spectrum of
Mm.
skills. So, but obviously, I don't know. In my case, I'm very comfortable in the water, but driving wise, might not have been tested. I'm probably definitely not the best. I can drive left and right because that's how I learned to do, to drive
Yeah.
in Spain, in Europe. So I might have done a bit of driving, yes, but I definitely don't call myself a driver. And there's like really amazing guys in the UK as well. So they're the ones that do like the big chasing scenes and the cart knockdowns and all these you know
Mm.
things. But yeah, like I said, you get you sort of become known for being able to do, I don't know, good at high falls, or good in the water, good at fights, good at a bit of acrobatics, so that kind of thing. Although you do have you're competent, you definitely can do something, but you might not be the best.
Yeah, that's right. And I suppose I suppose no one's going to be silly enough to say, "Yeah, I can do that," when they've never jumped off like 100 foot, like
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah, exactly.
You're not just going to do it, and I guess.
Yeah, because well, even when you qualify, you're on the register. There's a lot of people out there, and definitely the young guys. They pushing hard. They keep on training. They just are updating their skills, and they trying different things. So, you have to be constantly, on top form. And if you want to be there and then you're passionate and you don't want to stay behind, you definitely have to do all this training and go and try new things and
Mm.
sharpen all your tools.
What
Yeah,
would you
sure,
say are your
sure.
specialist disciplines, Pablo?
Well, I suppose like I said, very comfortable in the water. My fighting sort of is not bad. The
Mm.
reactions, like I'm talking reactions, is like doing, I don't know, taking a gunshot, taking a slash, taking a stab from a sword, this kind of an arrow shot. Like today,
Mm.
I was just covering this actor, and I was sort of protecting him, and I get shot in the neck because by an arrow. So you have to almost fall into him without hurting him because he's going to continue his scene, and I have to drop down on the floor. So that the reaction, suppose, air rams, which is kind of like a piston that throws you off, and
Mm.
yeah, I suppose that's that's kind of it.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy the things that people do in their jobs, isn't it? Daily. You took an arrow in the neck today, and
Did you take any
that's
arrows in the
funny.
neck today, Phil? I don't
No,
think I
none
did.
today. Funnily enough.
Me too. It's
It
it's
was it was
unusual.
a bit longer than that. It was a good, but yeah, that was one of the things.
So when I first met you, Pablo,
Yeah.
I introduced myself, and I was talking about my day job and everything like that, and you proceeded to tell me that you'd just come off the Star Wars Solo movie set, and
Yeah, it's true.
you just finished up a day doing stunts as a stormtrooper,
Yeah.
and instantly made me regret my career choices when you tell me with something as cool as that.
Yeah.
So surely there must be days where it must feel pretty special what you do, and with that in mind, so it's not every day you get to dress up as a stormtrooper, and it's sort of a lot of kids dream to do that kind of thing. So there must be stunts that or what days or productions have you are you most proud of, do you think, or
Mm.
what stunt in particular?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, pride of you have to be proud of everything you do. That's it, for me. It has been. I have to say, the first few years of this career working, it was a bit shocking. Where I couldn't quite understand. We were playing a good part, but we are still being shouted. And but I have to say, in the
Mm.
last few years, I'm definitely developed. I'm very eager to develop this even more passion. And like you said, um, every single day is different. and you definitely feel proud when you see the final product and you go onto the big screen, or you see something that you've done or you've been part of, a
Mm.
little design, a little choreography. You help this actor doing this. It's not just you being on camera, but being, like I said, being part of this, being part of that, seeing your name on the credits, and
Yeah,
you know, feeling that effort is now art. At the end of the day, it's a piece of art. That's very special. But obviously, the whole situation, the whole environment, and who you work with, and your, where you work, in what conditions, whether it's cold or hot, your costume, your colleagues, it all plays a big part. So the
sure.
enjoyment, and obviously, I want to do it, and you go to bed thinking, you know what, I'm working tomorrow. This is great. Um, there's I don't know. I can think of very good experiences, but probably the last one, maybe Six Underground, where we were
Hmm.
in Dubai
Yep.
shooting Abu Dhabi, well, mainly Abu Dhabi, shooting, for Mr. Michael Bay,
Yeah,
and that's a whole experience on its own. And because of the way we were treated and the kind of things we got to do, and seeing those cars and being in the desert, and the clothes were comfortable, and man, that was a dream, you know. I was this, like, today I've been on a set when it's very hot, and the costume is not that comfortable. It's actually very warm. But like I said, you know what? It's you are part of a big process, and there's a lot of people working hard, and you are given an opportunity, and you feel. I feel myself. I don't think I would want to be anywhere else when I'm there. You know.
yeah, sure, sure. I'm sure there's, it's like any job, isn't it? As glamorous as it is, I'm sure there's
Mm.
days where you think, oh, I could do without it today, or but it's,
Yeah, but you
it
think at the same time you think, well, where else would I be? Earning a
yeah,
living. I don't think I would want to be anywhere else. If I have to be working, sadly, most of us that have to work. Well, might as
yeah,
well, it might as well be here.
absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Are there any stunts that you have seen, perhaps that you haven't performed, or maybe you've seen on set or in a movie that you would love to have performed?
That I would have loved to have perform. Kind of attracted to, I don't know, maybe falling into the water with a nice scenery. I don't know, a nice background of a mountain thrown into a lake, probably with someone else. That kind of thing that appeals. Nothing not too or something. Well, yeah, nothing too high, but yeah, something, I don't know, falling of I don't know, like a car, something in motion, just you have to jump off. That kind of looks. Yeah, it looks good. Definitely something like, I've been buried alive,
Oh,
facing down on, in the sand, and that was
yeah,
particularly not nice. Although you might not think it's a big stunt, but it's probably not my favorite one.
yeah, I
Definitely
bet.
on top of my list of not favorite stunts, and it was just something silly, being buried, totally buried, head,
Yeah,
to toes, and breathing through a tube like a snorkel.
yeah, that
Um,
doesn't sound like fun.
so yeah, that wasn't fun. Obviously, you have to come out when you hear the action, and fight a pretend monster. So yeah, that's a nice. But in terms of, I suppose, anything that's, I suppose, open air, on the outdoors, and nice scenery, and enjoy the fresh air in the moment, because most of the times, we do things on sets, and
Mm.
studios, and so yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably not makes a nice change to do something outside
Yeah,
and in
yeah,
the
yeah.
picturesque. Yeah.
Mm.
So do you have any stunt heroes or influences that you admire?
I think I'll try to take the positives of many of my colleagues. I absolutely adore, and but some of my colleagues are really good. Like I said, all the young guys, they're good at editing, they good at tricking, they do their own films, and they able to choreograph things. So I suppose a lot of the also the new coordinators, doing all these big, Mission Impossibles and all these guys. So they, really good. Um, yeah, I think I try. I don't think I have a hero, but I like to take extract the essence of the best guys and try to mimic somehow
Yeah.
what I do, or the way I train, or the way I portray myself, or the way I behave or act, or I don't know, the little tricks with the costume, even, or able to edit and that kind of thing. That makes you, yeah.
Yeah. Makes you a well-rounded performer.
Yeah, exactly. It was, and a
Yeah.
good person, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
You have to be a good
Yeah.
person, a good human.
And speaking of Mission Impossible, and of course Mr. Tom Cruise, we know many major features can still be working on a script when they are already in production, such as the
Mhm,
well-known case of Chris McQuarrie and Doug Liman on the incredible Edge of Tomorrow, which
mhm.
is one of my favorite films of the last few years for sure. What I'd love
Yeah.
to know is, do you have much time to prepare for stunts in those cases? Or are you more reactive to the needs of the production and having to just be ready for day to day direction? How far in advance do you prepare?
It all depends. If you're part of a core team, which means that you're going to be there beginning to end of the film, not just beginning, but probably the the rehearsals and the pre-visuals and all these things. You're going to be working a lot, and obviously, like I said, doing beginning to end, and you're likely going to be doubling for someone, and you're going to be probably some of the days helping out with the choreographies and being with your actor another day and working things out, and probably helping out with the rigging team as well. Or you can just be more of a daily guy, coming into the big battles, or coming into like a notes, or doubling for an actor that's not top of the cast bill. And I don't know. In my case, TV programs tends to be more of a daily thing, whereas films you might go for longer. I have dabbled in my case, Oscar Isaac on a few movies, like The Promise, and that was a nice experience because you go from like beginning to end. So, but is that the kind of lines that you were asking, Miles?
Yeah, and I
Mm.
actually noticed that you had a lot of Oscar Isaac credits in your IMDb. Two Faces of January, where I think you actually had an acting role
Mhm.
in a crowd as a burly man, but then you've
Yeah,
also been
that's where I
on
met him. I met him on that one. It
right.
was a great time because I had to work with Viggo Mortensen, and he happened
Hmm.
to be there, and they flew me. It's just one of those nice things. They fly you into Crete just to punch Viggo Mortensen. So why not? And
there's a
all three of
there's
us
a
speak
day.
Spanish, so it was great. Great night. It was amazing time. And from then we kind of I was like, oh, we kind of have the same size, and we kind of look alike. He actually looks alike my like very like my cousin. He could be my we could be related. And I told the coordinator, and I said, hey, next time he's doing something. And obviously at the time he's already been doing good things by then, but
Mm.
since then he was doing big things. And yeah, it was the case that that coordinator worked again on another film, and he was on that, on I think it
Mm.
was on
Ex Machina, was
uh,
it?
Ex Machina.
Yep,
Yes, that
yep.
was the one.
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, it was great. And then Promise, and yeah, so yeah, he's another great guy as well. I've got good memories.
Very
So
cool.
you mentioned your obviously your Spanish roots, and you're in Spain at the moment, filming
Hmm.
on a production out there. But
Yeah.
is there any ways you've had to adapt your career to support film projects and production companies in Spain?
Yeah, it's kind of things that somehow you just end up being asked a favor by a friend who's now gone into whatever directing or trying to produce their own things, and you go like, okay, look, I'll give you 200 euros and 8 hours, and the whole weekend is gone past and you put more than 200 euros to help them out, and
Mm.
now you become a producer. And yeah, that kind of started a few years ago, and you know what, I'm proud and I'm happy to help, because if you have the time, I think I've still got something to give, and to give back. Definitely give back to my people, to my roots, and you wanna help. You want to make movies and make good things, and why not? If people are doing that instead of doing other things they shouldn't do, well, I don't mind. So
Yeah.
I do support little projects. I'm kind of now becoming a or part of a production company with strong roots in Spain, kind of split in between Spain and the UK. In a way, I'm trying to get also my sister into the industry. I'm working with producers that already been working on TV
Mm.
in a few like programs. I never say no. If it's challenging, if it's now to do with cameras and I'm learning. Oh man, I'm the worst one. I'm always
You're
there.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how. I've always been shy, and I've never wanted to be in front of a camera. But now, like I said, I like the process of building, putting paper into a screen. That's the most rewarding
Yeah.
thing, and you
Yeah.
have to work with artists, and I believe not many people can work with artists. Like you have to listen to them and kind of guide them and convince them whether they can be doing that, or not. And it
Mm.
is it is fun. It's just it is different, something different from an office job, or yeah, a normal job,
Yeah.
or the reality. So no, I love it.
Definitely.
It's great.
And speaking about that difference as a job, we love to close out our interviews with a question that relates to kind of making your way in the career, because a lot of people that are listening to this will be inspired by what you're saying today, Pablo, and of course there'll be people looking at a career in stunt performance.
Uh-huh.
So, what advice would you give to a young person who is starting out, wants to enroll in a similar career to yours? If you could kind of sit down with them and give them some kind of steps of advice, where would you start?
I'd say, well, nowadays, I'm finding out that the more confident you are with just the basics of cameras and trying to shoot things, even if whether you like skating or mountain biking or a bit of martial arts, whatever it is, just start playing with shooting things with camera angles, with trying to edit things, just try to put things together that look nice. Um, I don't know, put a bit of sound, a bit of effects, a bit of music. That's already giving you an awareness of what you're going to encounter and how long it takes to produce 5 seconds of, of a decent shoot,
Mm.
decent footage. That just build that kind of hunger for producing some decent images, obviously together with the fact that if it's stunts what you want to do, you have to be quite I believe you still have to be multi-skilled if you want to be
Mm.
useful for a team, for a stunt team, because from I don't know, being able to do a proper knot on a rope and helping out the riggers, and pulling a cable, which is things like that, you know, uh, driving cars, which is being able to drive left hand, right hand drive, things like that, motorbikes. Honestly, the more you do, the better. And I don't know, skiing, good in the water, climbing, tricking. Obviously, a lot of people try to or tend to concentrate on the gymnastics side, but the acting is as important as the gymnastics side. Although I've never done a somersault on a film set. You
Mm.
do
Mm.
things that may help the fact that you can't do a somersault, but just other things like the awareness. Just try to talk to people, try to see if you can have a chat with someone, and you can observe a day on a film set. Just go into a training session, with a couple of stunt guys and see what they do, just holding a sword and put just a movement, a couple of things, movements together. That kind of thing. So I'd say is obviously keep active, keep fit, but start thinking about all those things that make you worth being on set and useful for a team.
Sure. Yeah, sounds like great advice to me.
Absolutely. And with that, Pablo, I think we should give you your evening back after taking an arrow in the neck all day today. But thank you so much for joining us here on the Movie Mouth podcast, and we look forward to seeing you taking some big falls and waterwork and car work in some major productions coming soon.
Thank you, guys. It's been amazing. So yeah, I'm happy I was with you. Congratulations for your show, and hope you enjoyed it too, and everyone listening.
That was
Absolutely.
great. Thanks, Pablo.
Thanks
No
so much.
problem. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
So that was an incredible interview with Pablo there, Phil. What did you take away from that one? Wow.
I want to be a stunt performer, and I never will be. So I'm sad.
Don't we all? Like, I feel like all of us. Like, I remember growing up as a kid riding my BMX and literally being able to cycle it, stand on the crossbar, and then jump off of it onto the grass and do a barrel roll. And when I did that, at that moment in time, I remember saying to my mum, I want to be a stuntman. And then we spoke to Pablo, and 30 plus years later, then we spoke to Pablo, and I realized it's a lot of fucking hard work.
You have to actually be physically fit to do that.
Yes. Yeah. You have to know judo and shit. You literally have to be able to kill people. Although when he said I had to fly into Crete just for the sole purpose of punching Viggo Mortensen, I fell in love with him.
I mean, not many people get to do that.
No, it was awesome and a really great experience. So thanks for joining us, Pablo. Really great.
Yes, thank you
to have you on. So this week's review, we have just one review for you this week to keep things short. This is Palm Springs, which is a time loop comedy starring Andy Samberg, Kristen Milotti, and J.K. fucking Simmons. This sees us meet Niles, who's played by Andy Samberg, who is already years, if not decades, into a repeated wedding day in the Palm Desert. So, if you hate those days, you have to go to somebody's wedding. Imagine living it over and over again. This is similar in concept to Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow, or Happy Death Day, in that the same day is looped over and over. What's different here is that Andy Samberg's Niles unwittingly invites Sarah, who's played by the amazing Kristen Milotti, into the time loop. So we get to deal with two characters at different stages of being within this time loop and having to face up to how to handle it. As we join Niles, he's obviously later in the cycle, similar to Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, at the point where he's already tried killing himself over and over. Now, Andy Samberg wasn't really smart enough to figure out a way out of the loop. So he's just like relaxing in the loop. He's just been there for maybe like 100+ years. He doesn't really have any like forward momentum. He's just kind of stuck. We find out how many of the wedding guests he's had sex with, for example, and what his kind of usual routine is, which is basically just waking up, grabbing some beers, heading to the pool, and then putting on a Hawaiian shirt and swim shorts and going to the wedding when everyone's wearing like shirts, ties, and dress and cocktail dresses. And so this feels like really lived in. It feels like a day that we're already seeing. It's like going into someone's apartment when they've been stuck in quarantine for 4 months. It makes it really fun. And when we get to experience it fresh through the eyes of Kristen Milotti's Sarah, we see that she's actually kind of battling the past and transgressions that have kind of led her to this point, whereas Niall seems to be battling with a direction into the future. So in some ways, it's a play on maybe depression and feeling stuck in your current situation without a kind of clear path forward, which is really kind of good timing for the kind of quarantine generation. Copyright Miles Patterson right now. Niles has really settled and is really unmotivated in his lifestyle to kind of move ahead, whereas Sarah is really kind of driven to kind of find a way out. eventually. And you also have J.K. Simmons as the villain of the piece, Roy, who is so much fun here. He has such depth. And all I can say is that Roy is out for revenge. So I won't spoil why. But you have to watch it to realize why. I laughed. I nearly cried. I found this fun, really entertaining, and also a fresh take on a time loop comedy, which could start to get a little bit stale and boring. But here it works so well. It's not a major budget production, so kind of, don't look for this being like a kind of tentpole summer movie, but it somehow manages to succeed with a really tight script, great performances, really warm performances, and like romantic comedy beats that you haven't seen before, and the science as part of the whole time loop that is actually kind of believable and understandable, and it's, you're not just figuring out what the hell's going on. I have to say, this is one of my favorite movies of 2020. It gets my highest recommendation of all of the new movies that we've reviewed so far this summer. And you have to check it out. In the US, it's here on Hulu. Hulu actually paid, I think, something like almost $20 million to buy the rights to this when it was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. So they saw it as an incredible opportunity to grow their viewer base. In Europe, I believe it's on demand, but also in line with many of the comments that Phil brings up each week, this is also being released through drive-in theaters, and maybe even float-in, depending on the boat availability, around the world. So if you can find this on the schedule for any of your drive-in theaters, then please do check this out. I highly recommend it. It's not the best movie of all time, but it's definitely something that we all need to see right now. And as I said, highly recommend it. Go check it out. So coming up next, we have our weekly segment, Video Store Corner. Slight change to our regular programming this week in that Phil made me watch the truly terrible Money Plane. And so what we decided to do is, rather than spoil or review Money Plane, is pitch it in a battle to the death against another money-based, high-concept heist movie. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Money Plane versus Money Train. So in this segment, we're going to choose specific areas of the movie and give a score. If one of the movies wins, we give a 1. If the other movie doesn't, we give a 0. By the end of it, we'll figure out which is truly the best Money Plane or Money Train high concept heist movie. So Money Train is a 1995 buddy cop movie, which is centered around Charlie, Woody Harrelson, who's a New York City transit cop with a mountain of gambling debts, and John, played by Wesley Snipes, who is a responsible and frequently exasperated foster brother of Woody Harrelson. They compete amicably for the affections of fellow officer Grace, played by Jennifer Lopez, who's amazing in this, by the way. But things become more serious when Charlie decides to eventually rob the money train that carries the transit authority's daily proceeds. So basically, the money that gets put into the turnstiles in the New York transport system. John must decide whether to prevent Charlie's crime or to join in on the heist. This versus the 2020 high concept heist on a vehicle movie, Money Plane, which sees, for his final heist, Jack Reese, played by Adam Copeland, aka Edge from the WWE, a wrestler, playing an indebted professional thief, and his team, made up of all kinds of waste and strays, who must rob at the behest of none other than His Lordship, His Royal Highness Sir Kelsey Grammer, a futuristic airborne casino filled with the world's most dangerous criminals. And I use the term futuristic very loosely because I think the most futuristic thing on this plane is a houseplant.
They've got a scanner thing that scans their money.
Okay, So, to start things off, let's just jump straight into it. There will be spoilers, but you do not need to see these movies. Money Train, I think, maybe is worth a watch. But anyway, let's jump in. So, let's firstly pit the cast versus the cast. Phil, do you want to talk through who we have in Money Train here?
So yeah, in Money Train, we've got Woody Harrelson, and he we've got Wesley Snipes. So Woody Harrelson plays what's
Charlie.
his character name? Charlie Robinson. Yeah, that's his name. And then you've got his brother John with Wesley Snipes, and then you've got Jennifer Lopez, as you said, playing Officer Grace Santiago, and you've also got playing the I think he's like the transport. I can't really get his job title, but the transport authority like boss. But it seems to be the boss of the whole police force. I don't really understand. It's Robert Blake playing Robert Pattinson.
Beretta himself.
Yeah.
From
So
the TV show Beretta. Yeah. Robert Blake.
And he's a complete asshole, but still, in that, I mean, not in real life. I'm sure he's lovely, but yeah. So that's your cast, and
But you got Chris Cooper in there as well.
oh yeah, Chris Cooper, who plays a guy called Torch. Although they don't say that in the film, but he's credited as Torch, and he's basically a guy that tries to set fire to people in subway stations. So he goes up to the he goes up to the ticket booth type thing and sprays fuel in there, and then sets them on fire and steals the money. But he does it really well. He does play the creepy fire guy.
There's no problem with any of the performances in Money Train.
No, I mean, Patterson's he's super over the top with his insults and demeanor, but
he's incredible. This is
the
only reason to watch. The main reason to watch this movie is because of Robert Blake as Donald Patterson in this movie. I was crying with laughter, without not even joking. I cried. I had tears rolling down my face. I mean, in kind of definition of this, when we look at Money Plane, let's say if this is the year 1999, this is an incredible cast. So we have we have we have the wrestler Edge, Adam Copeland. We have Denise Richards, also known as Dr. Christmas Jones from The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah.
We have Thomas Jane, who, of course, was the Punisher, Stander. He was in all those amazing action movies. I love Thomas Jane. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And, of course, Fraser fucking Crane, Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer on this. I love this. So Kelsey Grammer, when we first see him, he is in a kind of like an interrogation scene with Edge, and he is by a pool.
You're calling him Edge. If imagine if Edge is like he's never going to get away from it, is he?
I'm not going to call him Jack Reese, his character name, because it's the most generic name. Although, considering it's called Jack Reese, they could have called this, and Jack Reese has a team of people with him the whole time. So, almost like his pieces. So they could have called this Money Plane, Reese's Pieces.
Reese's Pieces. I should have done that.
So basically, we see Kelsey Grammer. He spends all day by the swimming pool in this one scene, and I feel like they had him for one day. I feel like they paid him for one day.
I feel like I had him for like an hour, seriously, and he got it done in an hour.
Well, the sun does set. We get the sun sets, but I feel like it's the same day. I feel like the sun set, and he was like, "Kelsey, can we just get you?" And he's like, "Absolutely, I'm happy to stick around. At my usual, working rate, I'll stick around. I'll stick
Could I have some lunch, please?
Yeah, if you just feed me and feed my dad's dog, Eddie, as long as we have." So there's that. What do you think, Phil? Who wins in the cast section here?
I mean, hands down, it's Money Train.
Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, Jennifer Lopez, Robert
Yeah,
Blake,
because
Chris Cooper.
Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes alone are a great like pair, like on screen.
I agree.
They did like
I
3
agree.
films together, I think.
Incredible. They have incredible chemistry, without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's the
Yeah.
one thing about this movie for me. That and Robert Blake. So
Yeah.
okay, so let's I agree with you. Let's say 1-0 to Money Train.
Okay.
I
Are you
do
taking
want to point
score
out
of mine?
I do want to point out one thing now that we've scored, now that Money Train has scored against Money Plane, is that Matthew Lawrence, who played J.R. Crockett, the Texan oil billionaire or whatever he is, that wears a cowboy hat, has a 6-shooter, and has a handlebar mustache on the Money Plane, is playing a game of Russian roulette, and he, if you remember, boys and girls, was the young Chris Hillard in the Robin Williams comedy Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh my god! I thought I recognised him from somewhere.
Yes.
Holy crap!
Yes.
Wow.
He was also Sean Hunter's brother in Boy Meets World. You also
Oh,
have Andrew Lawrence in here, who is actually the director of the movie as well.
Yeah.
Who's playing Iggy, and Andrew Lawrence was also a kid actor. He was the young kid. I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who played Dr. Janosch Pohar in Ghostbusters 2, in Beam,
Right.
the Ultimate Disaster movie, he was his son in that
Oh
movie.
right. Okay.
The one he teaches to do the middle finger, you know?
Yeah.
And then there was Joey Lawrence, who was Oliver in Disney's Oliver and Company, the animated show about the dogs that live in New York, and starred in the TV show Blossom in the early 90s. And most importantly, all 3 of these guys are brothers, so this is how they're getting work. And all 3 starred in the kids' sitcom in the 90s, Brotherly Love.
Wow.
So it's a real family affair when you watch this.
I
think Money Plane's a lot of fun. But yeah, I think from a cast perspective, I think without a doubt, Money Train wins this. Yeah. So next one, we're going to do best line versus best line, and these movies are full of some humdingers when it comes to absolute incredible lines. So, Phil, give us the Money Train best line.
Money Train. I mean, there's a lot, and they mostly come from Patterson's character, don't they?
I love him. I love it.
You do. It's basically you.
I am Patterson.
Do you know what? I'm going to let you say that his best lines, because I think you liked him better. But one of my favorite, and it just tickled me, right? It was when there's a scene where Woody Harrelson's character is getting hung off of a building by some mafioso types because he owes them money, and Wesley Snipes comes to sort of rescue him. And when they leave the building and they're walking down the street talking about it, he says, "Oh, thanks for getting me out of that," type of thing. And then Wesley Snipes just says, "Yeah, no worries. If you'd have fallen, I'd be picking your ass up off the. Oh, fuck it."
It's something like, isn't it something like, "I'll be scooping your ass off the sidewalk"?
I'd be picking your ass up with a pooper scooper. It's just like
pooper scooper,
a pooper scooper. Brilliant.
If you're a millennial and you don't know what a pooper scooper is, it's basically a small plastic device that used to enable people in the 90s to pick up their dog shit.
Because you didn't want it, you wanted to carry something else around with you other than a plastic bag.
Apparently, yeah. I mean, for me, it has to be the fact that so obviously you got Donald Patterson there, and then you've got both Charlie, Woody, and John Wesley, who keep running into him for whatever reason. And he has a small model of the Money Train on his desk. And as Phil mentioned, we're not quite sure, like, if this guy just runs, like, the New York Transit Authority or if he actually runs the entire police. But for some reason, he's always drilling them down after every bad case that gets kind of cracked by the guys.
Yeah.
They steal his money train model off of his desk, and he comes back, and Woody Harrelson says, "Oh, by the way, whatever happened to your money train model you had on your desk?" And Patterson turns around to them and turns around to Woody in particular. He says, "You're on the edge. You're all the way out there. And if I find out it's you, I'll fuck you dead."
He really
And then
loves
we
that
see
model.
there's a scene afterwards where he loves that model. There's a scene afterwards where Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes are discussing whether he meant, is he going to fuck you when you're dead, or is he going to fuck you until you're dead?
He's like, no, he's like, is he gonna fuck us before we're dead or after we're dead?
I mean, I figured that as I'm going to fuck you dead, like I'm going to fuck you until you're dead.
Until you die from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were like, either way, it's pretty painful. Yeah, man, it's pretty. But he is incredible in that.
Yeah, he's
Well,
got a lot of good lines.
There's a point at the end of the movie when they both turn up on a random subway platform, because most of this movie is in the subway system, and they bump into him, and he's like, "What are you two bags of shit doing here?" It's amazing. Money Plane, though. Go on, Phil. Favorite lines.
Oh God, Money Plane.
There's so many.
There is a lot in that one. I mean, the setup lines in one of Kelsey Grammer's scene when he's trying to explain to Edge what the money plane is, and he says he's going about all these things that you can do, and then he says, "You want to bet on a dude fucking an alligator? Money plane."
No, we got to do the whole thing. He says, "There's a legend in the underworld. For those in the know, it's called a money plane. Some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are on that plane, all craving action. Whatever you want to wager on the money plane, has you covered. You want to bet on a dude fucking an alligator? Money plane."
So ridiculous.
There's also the scene. There's the scene where Edge has just failed to steal a painting, and they're talking about art and paintings together around the pool. Yeah. And Kelsey Grammer looks at Edge, and he's giving him a big kind of monologue, and he says, talking about art and stealing paintings, Warhol, de Kooning, Pollock, bunch of bitches.
Bunch of bitches.
Like, for no reason.
Yeah, it's
bunch
very
of
old.
bitches. Who wins this one for you? Which lines made you laugh the most? It's really tough for me.
I mean, but they're different, aren't they? Because Money Train ones are that it's that mid-90s. It's that it's still got that. For me, it's still got that 80s movie feel, and you've got those sort of characters that are the authority types that just have to.
Can I overrule you? I'm going to overrule you. I love Donald Patterson, but we have to go for Money Plane purely for Kelsey Grammer. And
yeah,
you want to bet on a dude fucking an alligator? Money Plane.
Yeah, right. That wins. 1 point for
okay,
Money Plane.
so that's 1-1. So moving on. So best character name. So
there
talk
is
about your favorite
absolutely no. My favorite. Well, I'm going to tell you right out. There's no beating this. This is possibly not just between these two films, but possibly the greatest character name in the history of cinema. So, do you want to introduce it, or do I?
Oh, you go for it, please.
So, the first thing that Kelsey Grammer says in Money Plane is his own character name when he's introducing himself to Edge. And brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because Kelsey Grammer's character name in Money Plane is Darius Emmanuel Grouch III, also known as the Rumble. I mean, this was probably about 7 minutes into the film, and I burst out laughing at that. I mean, it was his first line. And I immediately wrote it down.
Where does the Grouch family come from?
I don't know. Darius Emmanuel Grouch the Third,
Is
aka the
his
Rumble.
like father the Grouch, the Grinch, the Grinch Grouch?
Maybe.
Why is he so grouchy? Is it because he's a grouch? Like, what does he live in a trash can?
I mean, I just don't understand. But there is
Oscar the
absolutely no
Grouch.
way in hell that can be beaten.
Better
I
known
mean,
as the Rumble, but there's no explanation as to why he's called the Rumble. There's no
No.
explanation.
Makes no sense whatsoever.
He's just a businessman sitting by a swimming pool for an hour and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No one knows why he's called the Rumble. The third. So there were 3 Darius Emmanuel Grouches.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, they like to carry that one on. But
I mean, that's an incredible name. That is an incredible name. You've got a movie like Money Train, which is, by the way, it's a real movie. Money Plane is not a real movie. It's like watching a fucking porno. It's honestly, from the music to the production value to everything, the sets, it's a porno. Even though there's 0 sex in that movie, by the way. But it's still brilliant. But Money Train is a real friggin' movie. It's awesome. And
it actually had a budget of some description.
It had an actual budget, had a great cast. But they really messed up on most of the character names, apart from Chris Cooper, who, doesn't get given a name, as Phil mentioned earlier. He's just randomly, walking around the subway system in New York, setting people on fire. And therefore he's given, probably without even, just like, oh, what should we call him? Oh, I know. He sets people on fire. How does he do that? Well, he kind of tortures them. So what do we call him? Torch.
Torch, that'll do.
I hate to say it. It's a great name.
No, it is.
It
is good.
It's still, it's an afterthought. Whereas Darius Emmanuel Grouch III, better known as the Rumble, someone's thought about that.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't know about you, I'm leaning towards Money Plane.
100%. It can't be beat. You're not going to beat that. You're not
2-1 Money Plane. It's 2-1 Money Plane.
Oh
Ladies and gentlemen,
this
is such a low budget movie. I could probably finance this with a monthly salary. All right, so let's go down to best death then. Give us what you believe to be the best death in in Money Plane, Phil.
In Money Plane, it's going to be. There's a couple that are good, but I quite like the when the woman kills the guy with the bottle, and I'm going to say the guy that she kills is
Isabella. You're talking about Isabella.
Isabella,
killing
that's
machine.
She's basically, she is. She absolutely is.
She's basically Black Widow from the Marvel movies in this. She kills so many people. She blows some guy away like point blank for no apparent reason.
She stabbed one with a high heel.
Yeah, I thought she was awesome. I really liked her.
No, she was. She was really good in it. That's about the only thing. Her and Kelsey Grammer. But yeah, she stabs that guy quite violently with a bottle multiple times, and then just jams it into his head. Yeah. And also, you did really hate the guy that she was stabbing. He's a very odd, very terrible actor, very terrible character. And I thought, and I told you this, didn't I, Mars? I thought he just was. It was like he was doing a bad impression of Ben Stiller's character in Dodgeball. He just had that again. Another handlebar moustache.
Me and my friend Michelle.
Yeah, he was just like that. It was just like, what? Yeah. And I mean, going back to the lines, because he had this weird thing for the woman Isabella, who eventually kills him. And what was the line he says just before that? Rules were meant to get fucked. Do you want to get fucked? You're like, what? It's
so problematic. Bad.
So bad.
I see your favorite death scene, and I raise you in the true fashion of a casino on an airplane. And I would say J.R. Crockett, none other than Chris Hillard from Mrs. Doubtfire, who turns up here as the Texan cowboy. who decides to invite the Mr. McGillicuddy character. This is true, ladies and gentlemen. There's a character called Mr. McGillicuddy in this. To a game of Russian roulette with his 6-shooter and 1 bullet. And J.R. Crockett is sitting at this table going, I can't lose. I can't be beat. I'm from Texas. Y'all don't lose when you're from Texas. And then picks up the gun and blows himself away with the first shot. And you hear this kind of weird, like, Texas rattlesnake noise, like, after he kills himself.
He, like,
and
flips
his feet
back.
are, like, jigging in the seat.
That's it. He flips backwards off the chair and his like legs are vibrating in the air, like in comedy style, and like a rattlesnake noise happens.
This is Sharknado territory. It's like a sci-fi, channel movie. It's
it's like a straight to sci-fi channel. Oh,
conversely,
so
Money Train. There are not a lot of deaths in Money Train when you consider that the opening scene is Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson chasing a mugger through the subway system. It's like it's on a very micro scale compared to the global outcome of Money Plane. This is very small scale, isn't it? And probably the best death comes at the hands of Torch, who, after throwing someone under a subway train, is chased by Wesley Snipes, not by Woody Harrelson, who at this point is drunk out of his fucking mind on the job. And Wesley Snipes corners him, and having had a bit of a scuffle, they spill the gasoline everywhere that he uses to set people on fire. And it goes all over, obviously, Torch. It goes all over the ground. And Wesley Snipes has a metal pole in his hand, and Chris Cooper has a gun in his hand that he grabbed from Wesley Snipes. So Wesley Snipes inventively decides to whip his metal pole at the ground, which creates a spark, which sets the gasoline on fire, which ultimately leads to poor old Chris Cooper as Torch being set aflame. As he's set aflame, within maybe, what would you say, 2 seconds, Phil? Without any warning.
It's not long.
A subway train comes out of nowhere and just pummels him, just squashes him,
annihilates him. He's down.
And he's done.
That's the best one in Money Train.
So what do you think? Best one out of the two, though?
I like that one. It's got more about it. I don't... All the ones in Money Train... Plane. Oh, God. Plane.
Money Plane. Yeah, they're all a bit generic, weren't they? A bit stupid. All right, I agree with you. 2-2. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
So, we'll go into the second to last point, which is the best action scene. So we have, for me, I liked in Money Plane, Iggy's nighttime shootout, which is basically the guy in the van, the Simon Pegg of the Mission Impossible type series. But this is Iggy, played by Andrew Lawrence. Also, conveniently, the director gets the best action scene. And by the way, just to let everyone know, Edge, who is the top line talent in this movie, the buff action star, for most of this movie, he's flying a fucking plane. He
does nothing. I just keep cutting to him flying a plane on a Bluetooth headset.
Yeah, he's on a Bluetooth headset giving Kelsey Grammer shit. That's
the only thing he does is
it.
Fight the co-pilot to take control of the plane.
Yeah, but he fights the co-pilot and kills this innocent guy. Like, he's not a gambler, he's not a criminal, he's just a friggin' co-pilot. He kills him, takes over the plane, and then you have to believe that he is the hero of the piece, having just murdered some guy that's just doing his job.
Yeah. I couldn't get over the fact that the co-pilot actually reminded me a lot of the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Grace. But I think that the Iggy's nighttime shootout was great because you had Iggy against the odds. There were about 10 different operatives about to take him out. You then had a drone piloted by none other than Thomas Jane, who somehow could hear and speak to Iggy through the laptop that he was using to control
magic.
the drone, and for whatever reason, we also see a scene where we actually see Thomas Jane playing video games with a similar controller to that he uses to control the drone. So therefore, we know he's able to pilot the drone. Uh,
Of course.
and it sees Iggy against all of the odds in a nighttime shootout take out these 10 operatives alongside Tom Jane's drone. There is even a really incredible moment where Iggy is one side of a gravel heap and a bad guy's the other side, and somehow Iggy inventively, rather than shooting over the top of the pile, punches his gun through the gravel pile, at least, I would say, 6 or 7 feet from his own body, and shoots the guy in the face. Just to be clear, no one in this movie has superpowers. It begs belief as to how they thought that was amazing. But and then the drone kind of hovers down after it's taken everyone out, and Iggy looks up at the drone and says, "Oh, thanks, man, you really saved me there." And Tom Jane looks into his laptop and he goes, "You're welcome, buddy." Grabs a beer and then slugs it back. How the fuck are they communicating?
Also, you call that a nighttime shootout. It's not. It's not at nighttime. It supposedly is, but that is clearly 100% filmed during the day. And they've done some horrible effects to it to make it look like it's at night.
It's like one of those movies you used to see in the old days, like a wartime movie where, they filmed like an ocean scene at night. Like the old James Bond movies as well. Used to have a lot of stuff where they made it look dark, but it was clearly daytime.
Yeah. But that whole film, I mean, I'm sure the budget was very low for this, but the whole thing was, I mean, when they're checking into the plane, it's just a room with some curtains around it. So there's no set. It's just they've put some curtains up and it's the check-in at the airport.
It's just like a porn. It's just like a porno. It's basically, and
that plane's massive as well. That's like a proper jumbo jet, and you only see 2 rooms of that plane in the whole film.
Yeah, the rooms that get repurposed for other setups without the movie, throughout the movie.
I'd say there's less than 5 locations during the entire film.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you never feel like they're actually on a plane, do you, at any point?
No.
But the gambling feels real.
It doesn't.
It's a money train.
I mean, the action scene, it's relatively tame for most of it until it all
kicks off. Set it up for us. What's actually going on?
So Woody Harrelson as Charlie has stolen the money train, and Wesley Snipes has joined him. I've got a bit of a problem with that in a minute that I'll go into, but he's managed to join him on the train, and they broke the brakes, or they bled the brakes on the train so that they couldn't be stopped remotely from control because they're trying to get away, basically. And what then happens is that the absolutely mad Patterson in the control tower gets another passenger train to get in front of the money train and endangers the life of many citizens. And the money train then starts to repeatedly ram the back of the passenger train, and they can't help it because it's got no brakes and it's going faster, and the passenger train can't go any faster than it is. And what entails is they need to stop the money train in order to save some lives. So they rig up a device which puts when it smashes into the other train, it pushes this metal bar which makes the money train go into reverse suddenly. And actually what happens is a very, very impressive action sequence. I mean, before they crash through and stuff, there's for some reason, all of the NYPD are there shooting machine guns and shotguns at the train as it goes past, which is ridiculous. But it looks cool. It looks really cool. But I don't know what they're trying to achieve there just by shooting at an armored train, or what it looks like an armored train.
They're blowing the shit out of it, aren't they?
They absolutely riddle it with bullets, but pointless. But the scene when the train derails and crashes is great. It's amazing. It's a really good action sequence. It rolls, it sort of goes off the rails, rolls round, takes out all the pylons on the platform. And I don't know if that's I need to look into it more. I'm not sure if that's a model or I did
It
read.
looked like a model, but it looked like a model, but it was that just goes to show how CGI has like ruined
Yeah.
modern effects because it just nothing feels real anymore. Whereas this, there's that scene like you mentioned where Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes are running on top of the money train, and we see it from like a side angle, and it
Mm.
looks legitimately real. It looks like they're on top of the train.
Well, I'll give you.
Where
I've got a little few bits of trivia for later, but I'll give this one now because it sort of helps with what we're talking about. So one part of it is Money Train has the distinction of having one of the longest sets ever constructed for a film. So it says it's
wow,
over 3,000 feet long, 20 feet high, and 4 railway tracks wide. So it was roughly the same as 2 Empire State Buildings lying side by side. Because they were going to use the subway, but the real subway, and that's just not going to work. So they basically built their own with full stations and everything, which they filmed inside. So they could well have actually flipped, they could have destroyed the set at the end and flipped a real train over because they got real cars shipped over to them apparently for the film and kitted them all out and stuff. So they could well have done that real, and it would, but even as a model, it would look fantastic. So that looked great because it had the budget.
yeah. I mean, I think we're both with Money Train on this one. In that Money Train was, it actually had effects, whereas Money Train
Yeah.
probably didn't. So let's go with Money Train. So that makes it 3-2 to
Yep.
Money Train. So going into the final question. Now this is about the plot, the best plot. So Money Plane, band of thieves hijacking a flying fucking casino and taking all the money, taking out all the people on the plane, and running away with the money themselves in a kind of Robin Hood type plot. I think is an
Yeah.
incredible plot line. Money
Yeah.
Train, what do you think?
Not much happens in Money Train until the end, does it? Really?
I have to say, right, if we're talking about does the plot actually revolve around the vehicle in the title of the movie, Money Plane, 95% of this movie is on the money plane. All right. Even if Edge is flying the money plane for like 45 minutes of this movie,
Yeah.
it's on the money plane. You can't debate that. Money
No.
Train, you get an hour and 20 minutes into this movie about these two cops, and it's only an hour and 20 in that that someone actually finally does something with the money train. They actually hijack the money train after 20 minutes. So for me, I don't know if you agree, but the name Money Train is actually false advertising for that movie. They could have called that anything other than Money Train.
You sue him.
It's a high concept name. We should sue them.
False advertising.
Money Plane, Money Plane. Does that not describe the movie perfectly?
It does. I agree.
I tell you, Money Train. What do you think? You think about Wesley Snipes salsa dancing with Jennifer Lopez outside of a bar, or Woody Harrelson getting hung out of a window for gambling too much
Or Wesley Snipes roundhouse kicking a criminal
through glass.
through glass.
So
Yeah, I mean,
so
yeah, I think you're right. Plot wise, it's.
I've got to tell you, it's 3-3. We come out of this at 3-3. So that this is tough because for a number of reasons, but I think as a decider, we have to agree on which is the best movie. So at 3-3, these movies are tied with our stupid rules. For me, best movie, without a shadow of a doubt, a movie I'd never seen before Phil found this video in his attic. A movie that I'd always shied away from. I'd seen it in video stores and, I've seen it online and on Netflix. Money Train should be a stone cold classic action movie in the likes of Tango and Cash or a Die Hard movie or a Lethal Weapon movie. High praise. Money Train is fucking incredible. Money Plane isn't so great, but if one night you want to go home after a few drinks and watch a really bad movie that knows it's really bad and does the best it can with the budget it has, then Money Plane is also a good watch. Phil, do you agree, disagree?
I 100% agree. Yeah, Money Train. I hadn't watched it, so I'd seen it when I was younger. I owned it on video, and I think I must have got it. It came out in 95, so I think I bought that video in about 97. So I saw it then, and I've not watched it probably since I watched it then. So it's been a good lot, many years since I've seen it again, and having watched it again this week, I love it. I forgot how good it was, and it's based at Christmas time as well. So I'm going to add it to my it's on my Christmas movies list now that I have to watch with
Get
Die
it on there
Hard,
with
and
Die Hard, Lethal
Home
Weapon.
Alone, and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. So the winner is, with a stunning 4-3 victory, Money Train. Please check it out. It's a great movie, really worth watching, and the critics don't know what they're talking about. I loved it. Genuinely loved it. So that's it for this week. On next week's Movie Mouth podcast, we'll be bringing you a huge exclusive interview with none other than the Hollywood legend, costume designer, Linda Bass. But before next week, please follow us on our Facebook and Instagram accounts at Movie Mouth Podcast. Hit subscribe on any of the podcast platforms that you use, or please give us a nice 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. Well, there's one last thing to say, Phil, isn't there?
Was there? Go on.
Bye.
Bye then.
Hasta la vista, Philip.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.